Welcome back to Complete Facts! Today we're asking the big question, do left-handed people really live shorter lives? Yeah, I know, it sounds like something your weird uncle would whisper at Thanksgiving, but trust me, this idea has haunted scientific studies for decades, and the results are wild. Some researchers once claimed left-handers die nearly a full decade earlier than right-handers. That's a lot of birthdays missed. If this turns out to be real, I might switch hands because I like long lives and also pizza. And pizza plus long life equals best combo. We're diving into all the major evidence, the big controversies, and the jaw-dropping numbers to find out once and for all, is being left-handed a secret life shortener or just a cruel myth? Buckle up, it's about to get data-heavy, dramatic, and maybe a little depressing. Number 10. The 1991 study that started the madness. Back in 1991, researchers Diane Halpern and Stanley Coren published a letter claiming left-handers die about 9 years earlier than right-handers. In their sample, the average age of death for right-handed individuals was about 75 years, but for lefties, just 66 years. And for men, it was even worse. Right-handed men died around 72.3 years, left-handed men around 62.3. Again, that's a full decade difference. That kind of stat makes you want to open a life insurance policy for your lefty immediately. Number 9. The accidents and a right-handed world theory. Why does this massive difference exist? According to Halpern and Coren, a big part of the blame goes to accidents. In their analysis, fatal accidents were nearly 6 times more common among left-handers than right-handers. Car crashes, industrial accidents, tools, machines, basically everyday stuff built for right-handers were especially deadly for lefties. So according to that logic, left-handers died younger not because of some brain cell apocalypse, but simply because they lived in a world completely designed against them. Imagine being ambushed every time you use scissors or drive a car. That's not a life hack, that's a death trap. Number 8. Biological explanations and birth stress theory. Beyond accidents, early proponents suggested deeper biological roots. The idea, left-handedness might be a marker for birth stress, neurological irregularities, or weaker immune development. In short, maybe being born left-handed signals that something weird happened during development, and that weirdness might have long-term health costs. That idea made people nervous because it meant handedness wasn't just a quirk, it was a potential health warning tag. Number 7. But wait, later research didn't find the same trends. Here's the plot twist. Later studies often fail to replicate the left-handers die earlier results. For example, a major follow-up on nearly 40,000 older women found no increase in mortality risk for left-handed women compared to right-handers, even after adjusting for smoking, body weight, education, and more. In that study, there was no difference in average age at death across handedness groups. That's a huge blow to the idea of a left-hander penalty. And even more recent reviews have called the whole hypothesis into question, labeling it controversial at best. Number 6. The reporting bias that skewed early results. One of the biggest flaws in the original studies, they didn't account for changing rates of left-handedness over time. In the past, left-handed kids were often forced to switch to right-handedness. That means many older people who died may have been left-handed originally but recorded as right-handers. In 2023, a paper published in Archives of Public Health used modern statistical modeling to show that once you correct for this reporting bias, the dramatic 9-year gap disappears. When they assumed equal-handedness distribution over time, the difference shrank to just 0.43 years, essentially nothing. So the legendary lefties die nearly 10 years younger stat turns out it may be mostly a myth caused by poor record keeping and cultural bias. Number 5. Recent cohort studies no strong evidence for early death. In yet another big study of older adults from East Boston, 1970s to 1980s, researchers found that left-handedness was not associated with increased mortality. And modern public health experts at Harvard Health Publications call the idea of shorter lifespan for lefties speculative and unproven. In plain English, if you're left-handed and you don't repeatedly stick your hand in a malfunctioning power saw, you're likely fine. Number 4. Sometimes the data is just confusing. Some older studies still show a weak association between left-handedness and certain diseases, like certain cancers, autoimmune issues, or neurological conditions. But here's the kicker. Other studies show no difference or even a lower risk for some illnesses among lefties. In other words, if left-handedness does affect health, it does so in some weird, inconsistent, possibly random way. Not a guarantee, not a death sentence, just noise. Number 3. Society changed, so the lefty death gap changed too. Remember, decades ago, left-handedness was heavily stigmatized. Kids were forced to use right hand. Now that's mostly gone, so many more people report being naturally left-handed. A study modeling data from 1900 to 1980 showed that once you account for changing social norms and reporting habits, the entire lifespan difference disappears. This means all those scary death statistics might just reflect social history, not biology. Number 2. If lefties die younger, it's likely because of external risk factors, not mystery genes. If there is any truth to left-handers dying younger, the leading explanations today are accidents, using tools, machines, cars built for right-handers. Environmental hazards. Historically, more dangerous jobs where handedness matters. Industrial work, manual labor. Ignore the born with shorter life theory. Recent science doesn't support serious innate health disadvantages for lefties. Basically, left-handedness isn't a health flaw. The world was just built around righties. Number 1. The real conclusion: lefties probably live about the same as righties. After decades of research, reanalysis, and improved statistical methods, the overwhelming consensus today is this: there's no consistent, credible evidence that left-handed people live significantly shorter lives. The 9-year shorter life story, it's basically a cautionary tale about bad data, social bias, and statistical illusions. If you're left-handed, you're not doomed. You're just fine. Probably. The big reveal! So, should left-handers freak out? Here's what all this means for your lefty friend, or you if you're left-dominant. Left-handedness does not automatically make your life shorter. Early dramatic studies claiming massive lifespan gaps were deeply flawed. The main dangers for lefties historically: accidents and a world built for right-handers, not some biological flaw. If you avoid risky tools and drive carefully, your lifespan outlook is basically the same as everyone else's. So no, you don't need to cash in your life insurance or start living on a diet of kale and regrets just because you write with your left hand. So, next time someone says left-handers don't live as long, you can confidently reply, "That came from a study long ago, but modern research shows it was basically a statistical mirage." Whether you're left-handed, right-handed, or just using whichever hand is free to hold a slice of pizza, like this video, subscribe, and stick around because our next video might prove that right-handers actually have bad taste in pizza toppings. Don't worry, I said just kidding. Because when it comes to handedness, your lifespan doesn't care. Tap that button before a lefty outlives us all.